Hi all, it's been a while since I've demoed anything on a video, so I thought today, being that I'm coming to the end of the inventory system, it'd be a great opportunity to share my current progress with you all. So let's get into it and get the game started. So I've got the view distances turned down quite low. This is just a test build, so there's nothing to worry about there. So the inventory system, this has been a fair bit of work over the last month and a bit. And basically, it's meant that I will eventually be able to introduce a lot more progression elements, including crafting and obviously building better items and stuff to help your character progress through the game. So the way that the system works, I've got 3 different areas. There's the creative menu, which is mainly for debugging, but can be for gameplay from a sandbox perspective. There's also the inventory itself. This is the character screen showing equipable item stats and the inventory that you've got. And then there's the crafting system, again showing the inventory that you've got, but allowing you to craft and create things. So we'll start out with the creative menu. Okay, so from here, the creative menu, I've spent a fair bit of time making sure that things work quite well. All these hammers here are just basically placeholders to show the effect that this is going to be a scrollable list where you can go and grab something out of any slot, and because it's a creative menu, it doesn't take it and remove it permanently. It maintains its position so that you can always go back and say, okay, I'm going to be building a lot of dirt, so let's get a lot of dirt out. As part of the whole inventory system was introducing a range of hotkeys and key modifiers to obviously make the player's life easier when transferring items from inventory containers to one another. So we'll start with the first major one, and that's the shift click. Now, shift click from the creative menu will transfer one to the first available slot. From your actual inventory, clicking from here with shift held down will transfer it to your belt, and vice versa. There's no way of transferring it back into creative because it's a God mode inventory container. There is no purpose in transferring it there. The second functionality that I added was the control click. So we're using left click here. So holding down control and left click basically takes half of a stack. Now if we have a non-stacked item like this pick, it just picks it up. It doesn't do any different functionality. So left clicking picks up and drags an item. While we're dragging an item that has a stackable quantity, what we can do is instead of left clicking it to place it in a slot, we can right click and place single items in those slots. Now, the next bit of functionality I haven't added yet, but I intend to add a right click option, and by right clicking you will be given a list of options including drop, craft, and that potentially can do a reverse lookup to the crafting system to determine what that item can be crafted into, split stack, and other functionality that I may still come up with along the way. Okie dokie. So let's have a look at some of the other inventory sections. The next one we're going to look at will be the character screen. This is our character screen. It's something, it's basic at the moment. The left hand panel is basically going to be where the stats are shown for the character, and the right hand panel your equipment. Eventually this placeholder stick man will be replaced with a viewport to the character, but as I'm still using the placeholder just for the shadow, I don't really want to expose that to the player just yet. So let's just grab the helmet out from here. Now with the way that this is set up, these slots function exactly the same as any other inventory slot. The only difference being that they are extended from those slots and now have conditions of what can be put into those slots. So head items can only go into the head slot. And only wearable type. So if I was to take, say, this pick, I can't place the pick in any of these other slots. But if I take this helmet, I can't place it in the hands or the chest slot, but it does go into the head slot. And as you see, it replaces the placeholder. I'm going to take it off, and placeholder returns. Now, if I click anywhere on the screen and don't hit a slot, the item will be dropped, and we can see that happening here. Now, what happens is the result is we drop all of these little items here. They exist in the real world, and we can pick them up again. So let's start with the helmet that was at the bottom. If I was to pick that up, I can see in my inventory, it's returned to my inventory, and the model has disappeared out of the world. Now, something I can show you here is how this system will work. So they've disappeared after a period of time. In that, what will happen is these basic sprites, now we've got the placeholder ones for the pick and the helmet and things like that, but these other sprites, basically they will be renders of the real world model that I take and I will use. So when an item's set up correctly, I'll be able to drop it. I'll be able to see it in the real world. Like we see with this rock, we've actually got an existing mesh. I can pick it up and it returns to inventory, like so. Now, that's another thing to show you. Now with stackables, if I take 10 here and I want to stack it on this 5 here, if I left click that, it transfers to max value, and the remainder persists in being dragged. So let's say I wanted to just keep the maximum amount and no more. I've done just that. Alright, cool. Now, one thing it would be great to talk about at this point is how the inventory system is actually working. Now, I'm going to be doing this all driven by an XML document. Basically, that'll make it much easier to implement new items into the game. They can have placeholder effects, placeholder sprites, placeholder meshes, and things like that. But it'll mean that I can implement them, test them, and things like that for balancing purposes and whatnot. And eventually, it'll allow players of the game to modify things that they're not happy with in regards to balance. Perhaps a particular item does too much damage, and a particular type of armor does not absorb enough damage, and that'll give them the chance to tweak it to the way that they want it to work. Okay, so the last sort of little area I'll just quickly show you is the crafting screen. There's nothing really to show. It's obviously still to be done, but basically you've got your items down the bottom, so you can see what you're using to craft things, and there'll be a screen up the top here where you pick a recipe and the resulting item will be deposited into your inventory. That should be a pretty simple task, and again that'll be XML driven as well, allowing me to sort of tweak the recipes, how many of different types of ingredients are required and what the resulting output is. So that I should be getting done this month, and yeah, things are looking good to have that all done. Now, the next thing I can quickly show you is loot containers as well. Is something that's I've created as part of this. Now I've got two very different loot containers here, as you can see. One's 2x2 and the other one's a 3x3. Basically the functionality will exist in the world, and that will also include, say, perhaps a corpse when you're looting a corpse, and it'll allow you to loot that corpse, and it'll have particular rules that it follows. So let's say we deposit some items in here. Let's use shift click because that's working as well. And let's put that in there, and that persists, and I can come back and it's the same original items there and same over here. The only thing that's not happening with any of the inventory systems at the moment is it's not serializing, which means that when you finish playing the game and come back to it, everything starts from scratch. Now, that's a very simple thing to fix. I'm already doing a lot of serialization and saving states currently for worlds, so that if you destroy parts of the world or add parts to the world, when you come back and play, that data is serialized and you will get a persistent experience. So that is currently outstanding as one of my my items for inventory, as well as things that we've talked about already. The right-click menu. Within the creative menu, I want to introduce a search. I want to improve the tooltip. Now, we haven't really touched on that, but let's just have a quick look at that. The tooltip, after about a second, will display and gives you some basic information about an item. And all of this is, again, driven by the XML document. The only thing there is not its actual durability. That's driven by the item in the world. And that's still to be done, but we can look at other items: resource type, build type, or even the pick as a melee type, showing a damage. While we're on that, the build types. If I place a build type in my belt, I now will have the ability to build that item in the world. If I was to place a melee type on my belt, I now would do melee. Now at the moment I haven't added anything yet for different melee weapons. That's obviously going to be a large part of the character controller redesign, to allow for different animations that would go with those different items that would be equipped. Now, you noticed here, as I was destroying the world, that the items were dropping. I've also gone and taken the time to grab all of the voxel information and tie the voxel information to items, a dropped item. So in this case, if I pick these up, I will now see sand in my inventory, and 2, because I only picked up 2. Now let's pick up 4 of these. I'm not sure quite, these should all be dirt actually. So let's have a quick look. 4 dirt. The only thing that I haven't done yet is I haven't reduced the quantity when I'm using these buildable items, but that's still to come, and that's not a hard task. So we were talking about the outstanding items. So on top of the tooltip that we've just talked about and I've just shown you, there's going to be an overall aesthetic improvement. Obviously it's very basic at the moment. I've gone for functionality over look, and I'm very happy with the functionality now. So once I tie up a few more things, the overall look will certainly get a large improvement. Another section I've actually done a little bit of research in is really a minor thing, but I'm hoping that overall it makes my game look a lot better, and that's a custom cursor. So here you can see a very, very simple cursor, but my intention is to potentially have a finger that's pointing on a hand, and you would pick it up, and once you pick it up it changes to a closed fist cursor, and when you place it down again you go back to pointing. So that's still outstanding, and the other outstanding part is the character stat screen. Once that's been added in, when you equip an item to the character, you will notice that your stats go up and things like that, as well as showing how long you've been playing for, how many kills you've got, potentially even levels of experience. I'm not completely convinced on that yet for a survival game, but it's still a work in progress. The crafting system, obviously, I've talked about before, but that will be this month's major milestone. Introducing that will basically then begin a long haul of content driven work, and basically from there, every time I add additional content will mean that the player will have additional amount of time that they can play for. Okie dokie. I'll just quickly show you while we're in attack mode. I'll show you something that I've been working on as well, and that's just an overall aesthetic thing. That's the introduction of a sprite. So as we attack the grass, the sprite fires. So the grass isn't currently been destroyed at the moment. I mainly got that so that you can really see the what I've been trying to do with this sprite effect. But yeah, basically once we get to the next sort of stages of crafting, I'll be making it so that not only is the ground harder and you can't just destroy it in one hit, but you have to do multiple hits, and then before you get the sand or the dirt. Same with the grass, multiple hits, and then you'll be able to get the grass and potentially craft the first stages of your armor. Another thing I'm just going to quickly show you here. I'm not really happy with this just yet, but it is something that I really want to do well soon, and that's the dust bunny. That old ball of fluff that you often see kicking around in sometimes the yard, most of the time in the house. But the dust bunny will, being a fibrous object, will obviously allow the player a different crafting route in terms of being able to collect a large amount of it to create better items in the long run. So grass may be the simple and easy to get item now. Dust and hair and all of that will be the more longer term gameplay. Things that I'm thinking about are introducing a different glove type. Perhaps if you collect silk or spider web or something like that, you can apply them to these type of gloves and then use them to scale walls and basically improve your character overall. As far as that goes, that's really covered everything I really wanted to talk about in terms of an inventory system. I hope you've enjoyed watching and the progress that I'm making, and I look forward to sharing a lot more with you in the future. All right, thanks for now.